Good evening and welcome to the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. This is the beginning of the regular season. Welcome to another edition of our program. This is Trey Graham along with Cardinals head football coach Matt Nally. And Coach, welcome to the regular season.
Yeah, I was telling our coaches this weekend, just man, how time flies. Like we're just in. It feels like we're just in the off season. And it's just wild to see how far the kids have grown and us as coaches have grown. But man, golly, it is time flies. Time flies.
We want to thank our sponsor of tonight's broadcast, Burl's Used Cars.
Oh, dang right. That's awesome.
Burl's Used Cars. They're on Highway 5 between McKinney and Melissa. You can't miss Burl.
Yeah, heck yeah.
So Burl's our proud sponsor of tonight's broadcast.
That's awesome. That is so cool.
So thank you to Burl. All right, now I told you last week in our first edition of this season that we were going to take the Cardinal Scoreboard Show on the road every week to take you to places that you may have seen and you may not have seen. I'm going to guess you haven't seen this place.
Yeah.
This is officially called the CTE Control Room. If you want to call it NASA, you could call it that. But this is officially the CTE Control Room. We are on the 5th floor of the press box here at Coach Kenny Deal Stadium. And last week it was 105, so we sat in the sun. Today it's 97, so we sit in the air conditioning. But Coach Nally, did you ever think we'd have all this stuff?
I can't remember. I was in a meeting, and I was talking about this very room and just how it kind of reminds me of, a Star Trek. The main floor on the Enterprise. Just how crazy. But to me, the most wild thing about it is kids do this. You know what I'm saying?
Well, as a high school student.
Yeah, and that's just so amazing to me that, Mr. Crayman and the rest of the crew do such a great job of realistically setting these kids up for the future doing things like this. So, but yes, sir, it is, no, I never thought it would, when you came in for the first time, you were just wide-eyed, like, oh my gosh, this is what's going on. But to me, it's just so amazing in the regards of that kids are doing that, because I'll be honest, I wouldn't know what I'm doing, any of these buttons and stuff. But it's just, it's a cool thing, and that's kudos to Mr. Crayman and those teachers in the CTE program.
So here in the room is where all the replays take place, all the graphics on the bottom of the screen, the score bug as it's called, and the clock and all the things that you see on the screen. Those are produced by the students behind us in these workstations, and so there's sound equipment all over the place, cameras everywhere. So the production of Melissa Cardinals football, the brains of it.
Yeah.
The brains of it are not down the hall where we sit. The brains of it are in here.
Yes.
And those of us who just talk for a living,
Yeah.
we work down the hallway. So this is the CTE Control Room. Wanted you guys to get a look at this. It's a pretty cool place. Again, Randy Crayman and all the smart folks that work in here, we appreciate all the work that they do.
Absolutely.
And so now let's look back a moment to Argyle. You went to Argyle a few days ago for a scrimmage, and you had some 9th grade and JV and varsity action, and it was seriously hot.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
So besides that, your on-field observations.
For me, I was because of the heat, I was extremely nervous, days before. So our athletic training group, headed by Allie Bierman, they did an unbelievable job of making sure that the kids were cool as the game was going on, or the scrimmage was going on. So a lot of people don't understand an hour and a half is a long time to scrimmage for JV and freshmen. So I was really, really nervous about that number. And because it's 7-minute segments, I was really nervous about the kids and just how they were going to handle the heat. I was impressed that our kids handled it as well as they did, but I think it's because of our athletic training group and how they handled it. Now, we did have a malfunction with our misters, and Argyle, their
Mister meaning the fan with the garden hose attached to it? Yeah.
Argyle's maintenance crew came out there and actually fixed it for us, so I was very, very gracious for that. But overall, I don't let don't let coaches in a scrimmage like, guys, I don't care. You're going to run our installs. I don't care if they're in a mint front. I don't care if they're in a bear front. I don't care. I want our offensive line and our quarterback and our running back to be able to decipher the front, and I want our quarterback and our receivers to be able to decipher the shell. It doesn't matter. So, but we're not scheming any of those things. So, going in, not scheming, I thought that the kids executed well. And like I said, I only wanted two things from the kids going in that scrimmage, and I told them I wanted you guys to make sure that you're giving maximum effort and make sure that you're being physical. And at the end of the day, I mean, when you watch film, we could get better at being more physical, but the effort piece I thought was there. So I was overall pleased, freshmen and up. And obviously we have a long way to go on all levels, but I was overall pleased with those two things.
And did you accomplish your goal of everybody staying healthy?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is in the varsity portion, the first half we were only supposed to really do ones and rotational kids. And in the second half, it was...
What that means is first string O versus first string D.
Correct. As much good on good as possible. And then in the second half, we were going to do a lot of twos and rotational people. So we got done with the first half, and he ends up calling me and says, hey, I'm going to put my ones back in.
Coach Rogers.
I'm going to put my ones back in. I want to see how they can handle coming out at halftime. And I was like, Coach, I'm not. I mean, we're healthy. We're in a good spot. So, and then when we were playing, I had, Rocky Dunn kind of got dented up a little bit, and so did Dalton DeBabney, and I'd shut them down. And but Cordell came in and did an unbelievable job for Rocky, and we had a slew of kids go in and play corner. They did a great job. But to me, the most proud was when their ones came back out, our twos stopped them. And then offensively, they moved it. So to me, that made me feel like, because I'm really harp on practice and I really harp on are we developing every kid? Because at the end of the day, if we're not developing every kid, the foundation of the program is going to crack and break, and we're going to be in trouble in years. So it can't just be about the varsity all the time. So I don't know. It just made me feel good, or about the ones all the time. It just made me feel good that these kids were. I feel like every kid's getting coached, every kid's being developed, and if something were to happen or whatever, I feel good about the kids that have to go in and rotate through. So that was the high point for me. There were some great things, we had a kid get an interception. We had Bear Tabor that this whole time for fall camp, I was like, he's going to have to prove to me that he can do it. And I think Friday he proved to me that he could do it.
Meaning play on varsity as a freshman running back.
Yeah, and we haven't had that in a while, to play on varsity as a freshman. I think of Jabray Young, and we had Cater Cobbs that did it. But, there hasn't been a lot of kids that have been able to do it.
Nigel Smith.
And Nigel was one of them.
Zach Williams back in the day.
Yeah. But, those kids are elite, So I was really worried, coming from 8th grade football to varsity football. But he proved to me on Friday night that he could do it. But just overall, just that piece. And the thing is I'm an offensive-minded head coach, and I've always been that way. But I really feel defensively that we've taken a big, huge step. So I was very, very proud of the defensive coaching staff and those defensive kids. But once again, going back, I didn't let Coach Hammy and them scheme. We talked about Argyle. We walked through some Argyle stuff so we wouldn't look stupid going out there. But no, we're not doing that. We're still in fall camp. We're still going to treat this like fall camp. We're not going to treat it like a game week. We're still trying to get conditioned. We're still trying to do all these things, trying to get our installation schedule done. And we're not worried about Argyle. We'll be worried about Argyle in December. We're not going to be worried about Argyle right now. So doing those things, I kind of handcuffed both of them, the offense and the defense. But at the end of the day, I felt pretty good about it overall. So I was really, really proud of the kids because I was very nervous going into it with the freshmen and the JV because of the heat. So, but I thought they showed up and did a great job.
For the last 2 years, Argyle and Melissa were in the same district. Not the case this year, and so just to educate our audience, scrimmages are determined by the coaches. So you and
Right.
Coach Rogers said, let's get together and do a scrimmage.
Right. So, we had played him first, and it's kind of funny that you brought that up because we talked about it before the scrimmage even started. I wanted to play him. I thought, man, it would be a cool thing, kind of a rivalry thing.
In a non-district game.
In a non-district game, cool thing, and I just always do it. Kind of like Salina. Let's always play each other. He was like, no, I don't want to do that. We might see each other in one of the regional semifinals or whatever the case may be. And I was like, okay, cool, no big deal. He goes, but I want to scrimmage. And for me personally, it was a great thing for the kids to see. That's the number 3 team in the state of Texas. They're picked, and to win the region and things like that. And for our kids to see that and actually have an opportunity to play against them, because we will play them again. And you know how it is. If you get to see them, it's not that first time thing. It's and really I didn't want the kids to come up, because we beat them 56-14 last year, and I didn't want the kids going into that scrimmage thinking, oh man, we're gonna beat the heck out of them, no big deal. So that was a big piece too, because they were very good on defense. So it was to me, it was a good foundational piece to really look at us as a measuring stick. How do we measure up to that? And it made me feel really, really good when the scrimmage was over, where we're at.
You're watching the Cardinal Scoreboard Show. We are here in the CTE control room on the 5th floor of the press box at Coach Kenny Deal Stadium. We're going to talk about this week's game in a moment, but a follow-up to last week. You said you had 252 football players.
Yes, sir.
Grades 9 through 12. You're going to have 5 teams.
Right.
1 varsity, 2 JV, 2 freshman teams.
Correct.
So the question for the education of the audience is, how do you assign players? How do you divide them into those 5 teams?
So the freshmen a little bit easier because we had them an extra week. We got them, and we used the teams that they were on in junior high to give us a base level. Now some of that's changed because we saw some of them in the summer. But we had them for an extra week. So when we had them for an extra week, there was kids that went up and down. To me, with a freshman and a JV kid, they're still going through puberty, and there's still things that they're developing. I'm going to use Isaiah Cherry till the day that I get out of coaching. But as Isaiah Cherry was a kid that was a B team kid in the 7th grade, B team came in the 8th grade. B team came as a freshman, was on the JV as a sophomore and a junior, and then he's an all-state kid as a senior. He had opportunities to go play college football. So there's always those kids out there that are eager and hungry to be developed, and it's our job as coaches to make sure that they get developed. But the freshmen were more, like I said, it was just an easier process because we had them an extra week. The JV was difficult just because of the fact of that JV is there's a lot of talented kids, and there's a lot of blue collar kids, and it's easy to like the talented kids, but I like the blue collar kids. So you always go through it and you look at your depth charts and things like that, and you're like, that kid right there is a kid that I got to make sure gets 1 million reps. So that kid might be on that JV 2 team. I need to give him 1 million reps so the next year he could potentially contribute on the varsity. So it's the same thing with a JV 1 team kid. It's just, I got to have 1 million reps. So it's at the end of the day, that's really how it's split. I got to get as many reps for that kid as possible. And there's a lot of schools that don't do that. A lot of schools will say, hey, we're going to go 1 freshman team and 1 JV team or whatever the case may be. I don't believe in that. I believe if I had 12 or 13 kids, I want to go play 12 or 13 kids. A, they deserve to play. But B, they deserve to be developed, and they deserve to have an experience. So, but it was difficult because that's a good group. It's a good group. It's a good physical blue-collar group. I really like our JV group. So, but it's all about reps right now. As a freshman and a JV kid, it's all about how many reps can I get you in practice, how many reps can I get you in a game. And the only way to do it is to split it because we have so many kids, which is a great thing.
With the challenge of finding games.
Correct, and that is a hard situation. Is
not every school will have every opponent on the varsity schedule. Not all of them will have 2 freshmen and 2 JVs.
Correct, and that's the wild thing about it. Is when we were in 4A, you'd be like, okay, I understand if you only have one freshman and one JV, but you get to 5A, you're like, okay, everyone's going to have at least 2 freshman teams, and that is not always the case. We play Lovejoy with our freshmen this week, and he told me on Saturday they have 22 kids on the A team and 22 kids on the B team, and I'm like, I have more on one team than you have in your entire freshman. There's teams that we play that have already told me we only have one freshman team and we won't have a JV. And I'm like, man, this is 5A football. You don't have a JV team, and this is 5A. But I get it. There's different situations for different people and in different programs. But I'm always under the philosophy is I want every single kid to play. And I would have done it last year, but we had some depth issues in certain key positions that we couldn't do it. But the first thing I told those coaches this year, I said, we're going to have to, I don't care. Every kid's going to play. So I'm really excited to see it. And, we'll get to see, once again, our JVs combined this week just because Lovejoy doesn't have 2 JVs. But we have the JV 2 team 7 games, but it is difficult. It's very difficult. And as the season goes on, as you know,
those teams are going to deal with injuries.
Yeah, and then you're going to deal with
and
grades.
Yes.
So there's a lot of schools that are going to say, right now we have 2 freshmen and we have a JV, but as we keep going, we might have 1 freshman and 1 JV, or we don't have a JV, or whatever the case may be. And that's the deal. Like, the thing about a Melissa kid is I never have to worry about grades. We do grades, checks, and all those things, but I never have to worry about grades. We have unbelievable teachers, but the kids are, mostly excited about, their academics, and they have a future vision for themselves. So, but other schools, that's an issue. They have grade issues and stuff like that, and we just don't have that here. But like I said, I hope that we can get it where we can play as many kids as possible throughout the season.
So just to clarify, there's been a little confusion about the schedule for this weekend.
Yes.
There are freshman games, 2 of them.
2.
In Lovejoy.
Correct.
Okay. On Thursday evening.
Correct.
There's 1 JV game.
Correct.
In Melissa.
Yes, sir.
At Cardinal Stadium.
Correct.
Not Coach Kenny Deal Stadium. So 9th grade teams are away at Lovejoy Thursday evening. JV is at home at Cardinal Stadium on Thursday evening.
Correct.
Then Saturday evening, we'll be right here. I'll be down the hall and you'll be way down there. On Saturday evening for a 7:30 kickoff, the Little Rock Parkview Patriots.
Correct.
Who are the 2-time defending state champions from the great state of Arkansas.
Right.
And just for all the geography majors, we're not in Arkansas and they're not in Texas. Why are you playing an Arkansas team?
Okay, so when I was starting to schedule, and I was having this conversation today with a Dallas Morning News reporter, when I got the job, it was really hard to find games to start.
Let me interrupt. I'm the translator.
No, I'm with you. Yeah.
Okay, don't forget that the district games are set by the UIL,
Correct,
so coaches don't determine that. Non-district games, up to the total of 10 regular season games, non-district games are decided between the 2 schools.
Correct.
So Coach A and Coach B have to agree with each other.
Correct.
And sometimes you have a really good team, and not everybody wants to play you.
Right.
Pick up the story.
So each year it's gotten worse. So like each year, there's been some years in the past where, I thought we were going to have to play 8 or 9 games, because we couldn't find anybody to play us. Like China Springs is a great example. We went all the way into, February was the realignment. I think we went into maybe April before that game became a game because they couldn't find a game and we couldn't find a game. But it was extremely difficult to find games. And at this time, I didn't think we were going to be in such a large district. So I had planned on having 4 games. I always planned 4 games. And I couldn't find anybody. I could only find week 2 Frisco, and that was it. I couldn't find anybody else. So I was kind of freaking out thinking, oh my gosh, we're only going to have 7 games. What am I going to do? So when February came, and I think I might have told you this, I only had Frisco. So and just
And there were other schools in other states we talked about before.
Yes. So I only had Frisco. So thank goodness the district was that big, because I didn't have anybody after that. I take that back. Denton Ryan. We were going to play Denton Ryan, I believe week 3 or week 4. I cannot remember the actual date, but we were going to play Denton Ryan. With the Wipeout Kids Cancer Classic, we had just talked about, potential teams that we wanted to play. Well, I'd gotten to a point, I was like, man, I've called everybody. So you just figure it out. And the director...
Wipeout Kids Cancer is the host officially of this Saturday night's game. It's a home game here at Coach Kenny Deal Stadium, but it's sort of like a bowl game.
Right.
It's hosted by and sponsored by Wipeout Kids Cancer.
So I was like, man, I can't. Man, you're going to have to help me out. So he hit up some schools in Texas. They all said no. And then he gave me 3 schools outside the state. One was Parkview. There's a school in Georgia, and there was a school in Colorado. And the Colorado school said, we'll play. So I was like, yeah, we'll play them. Awesome, that's great. And they were the back-to-back state champion or whatever. And I was like, yeah, heck yeah, man, let's play them. And so like 2 weeks went by, and they dropped us, which is fine, no big deal. Well, Parkview, when we went with the Colorado team, Parkview could not find a game. They found a game, and then 2 weeks later, when Colorado dropped us, their school dropped them. So they were looking for a week 1. We were looking for a week 1. So the director called me back and said, hey, Parkview's open if you want to play them. And I was like, heck yeah. So for me, though, I don't want to play a cupcake. I don't want to do that. I want to say, hey, we're going to, the preseason games for us is a scrimmage. I want to make sure that the right kids are on the field, the schemes fit our kids, and our personnel is right. So, but also I go back to 5A Division II football. South Oak Cliff is out there. And we've been so close 2 years in a row, and I was like, you know what, we're going to play somebody like them. I don't care what it is. So I did my research about Parkview, and I was like, yes, I want to play them. They remind me a lot of South Oak Cliff. There's athletes all over the place. They're coached well. I want to play them. So we decided to play them, and me not knowing, everything that, I just like, yeah, they looked the part. Like they're fast and physical. I want to play them. And then you looked them up, like the quarterback's going to Arkansas, both running backs are going to P4 schools. They got a safety that's like the number 1 safety in all of Arkansas and all these things. But at the end of the day, like, to me, that excites me. We're going to see a lot of talent on the field Friday night or Saturday night, but also it's going to be a good measuring stick for us again to kind of see where we're at. But it's a really, really good football in the regards of, because when people think of, when recruiters and everyone comes in, they're, oh, well, no one does it like Texas. But when you see the product that they have, you're like, that's pretty good. They're well coached, and they've got really good football in Arkansas as well. So I'm pretty excited to see what we can do with that much talent playing against us. And like I said, it'll be a good measuring stick for us. I know that our kids are excited about it, and it's for such a great cause too. Like, all the proceeds go to Wipeout Kids Cancer. So I was like, heck yeah, man, we need to be involved in that. So. But Parkview is a great opponent. So, but yeah, that's kind of how it went down.
Saturday night, 7:30 kickoff here at Coach Kenny Deal Stadium. Melissa Cardinals and Little Rock Parkview. And for broadcast information, the game will be live streamed, but not live streamed. It's restrictions based upon the game and the arrangement of the opponents and everything else. In media world, it's called tape delay. So we're going to broadcast the game as normal. You'll just get to watch it if you're not in the stadium after the game's over.
Yeah.
Radio side will be live. So if you're desperate, which I hope you are, to get the season started with the Melissa Cardinals, look for MCN Radio. You can hook up with the Melissa Cardinals network. So the radio broadcast will be live. The video broadcast will be tape delayed. And that's what that is all about. So we do want to, again, thank Burl Woolard and Burl's Used Cars for being the sponsor of tonight's broadcast. I invite you and your family to join me and my family Sunday mornings at First Melissa. Go to firstmelissa.com to find out about our church home. Our Sunday worship service is 9 a.m. or 10:15 a.m. And again, go to firstmelissa.com. Coach, it's going to be a good season.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
For Coach Matt Nally, as we get the regular season going, thanks for joining us. This is Trey Graham saying good night from Coach Kenny Deal Stadium.